Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. It's the No Contest podcast, a very strange game at the Crampton Bowl last night. But today I have the special pleasure of having Nick King join as a guest. Dwight is at the beach and join a Sunday afternoon. And so Nick, who will be joining us while Dwight is out of the country next month, is able to share his expertise on all things UC Davis, especially the defensive side of the ball. We also will take a quick look at the Utah Tech game coming up and at the overall impact of what the no contest means for UC Davis, especially playoff seeding wise. As always, follow the show on social media, Instagram, X, YouTube. You can join as a subscriber for $5 a month on Spotify, which gives you early access to episodes and bonus episodes as well. AggiePridePodcast.com is where you can find our Aggie Pride Classic hats in navy or beige. All right, let's get into it.
This episode is sponsored by Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Land's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out LarisonTeam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride.
Heading to Seattle to cheer on the Aggies this September, join the Cal Aggie Alumni Association for a pregame tailgate at Husky Stadium. Tailgate and ticket packages are on sale now at alumni.ucdavis.edu/events. Also, spend homecoming week with the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. Starting on October 8th, CAAA is hosting a variety of events, including the annual Friday Night Social at Sudwork Brewing. Check out all events at alumni.ucdavis.edu/homecoming. Bank like a champion when you bank with University Credit Union. UCU is the official credit union of UC Davis and is committed to giving every UC Davis student, faculty, staff, and alum a financial advantage. From low loan rates and financial coaching to high savings rates, including our new Elite Certificate Special, University Credit Union helps you reach your financial goals. Visit ucu.org for details. Use promo code Aggie Pride Podcast to get started. University Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
UC Davis football stands for tradition, teamwork, and having each other's back, especially when times get tough. That's why we're proud to partner with Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, a respected California law firm with over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses prepare for life's unexpected turns. Whether you're navigating estate planning, probate and trust matters, civil litigation, or elder law, the team at BPM&J offers clear, compassionate guidance through California's legal landscape. BPM&J is deeply rooted in Aggie Pride. The firm is led by Craig Judson, a double UC Davis alum, and the Sacramento office is supervised by his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the UC Davis Cal Aggie Alumni Association. 4 other attorneys in the firm are also proud Aggies. From starting a family to managing assets or honoring a loved one's legacy, Scott, Craig, and the BPM&J team are here to help with confidence, care, and compassion. Their services include estate planning, such as wills, trusts, and powers of attorney, incapacity and elder law planning, probate and trust administration and litigation, conservatorships and guardianships, and general civil litigation. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPM&J serves clients throughout California. Visit bpmnj.com to schedule a free consultation. And this season, listeners of the Aggie Pride podcast will receive an exclusive $500 discount on the preparation of a comprehensive estate plan. Just mention the podcast when you book your free consultation with either Scott or Craig. Please note this message does not constitute legal advice. For personalized guidance, contact BPM&J directly. The firm's attorneys are licensed only in California. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
How are you? Good, man. How are you?
Just grinding some film before this. I want to review it a little bit. I'm probably overly prepared, but I'm sure that's all right.
You're going to be putting the pressure on Dwight, man. He's gonna come back from Ethiopia, and I'm gonna say, hey, like, we found some pretty good fits. They
Yeah.
put in a lot of extra work. First one's out to practice, last one's to leave type deal.
Just put your hard hats on, your lunch pails.
Yep. As to not overthink this, we are jumping into it. So
Okay.
we will. You've seen kind of the outline of what I had in mind. Reminder: we can shift and pivot and adapt like we're Caden Pinnick at any point in
Cool.
case our pass pro starts breaking down. So pretty fun episode we got today, and I'm gonna try to do these more during the season. We'll see. Maybe Nick King's the guy. Maybe Dwight Smith's the guy. Who knows? But when and if possible, we would like to do these reaction shows because I just know as a fan, like right after a game is like when you just go into consuming content mode.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what it was like for you, but that might be a good place to start. I will intro who I'm talking to here now to say that he's the pride of Redwood High School, who beat Marin Catholic in high school. We have about 17 football players on our team from Marin Catholic.
I know. I saw that.
He's ripped. He's the 2012 Defensive Player of the Year for UC Davis. Big Sky honor as well. You were one of the first classes, I think the first class in the Big Sky. And he's a sales stud, and he's a dad, and he's Nick King. Nick, thanks for coming, man.
Hey, thanks, Brock. Hey, I've told you off the air, man, but I'm so proud of you guys. This is amazing. We've been so desperate for content, and you've done such a great job. So just wanted to thank you. As you know, I've been your guys' #1 fan from day one.
That's right. He's rocking a Lake Tahoe hat, which is pretty solid. Quality's nice. We checked it out in person yesterday. He'll also be rocking an Aggie Pride hat. You'll know where to get him, AggiePridePodcast.com. Nick, I think we start with your personal fan experience from yesterday. So
Sure.
we're golfing in this blazing Sacramento heat. You're still on Hawaii time, thinking the game starts at 1, taking care of Kira, and Lauren's got her, girls' night going on. And so you're just like, hey, I'll be there at noon type thing. You end up figuring out the time. You end up coming over for half the game. You leave,
Yeah.
and we're like, sweet, man, we're going undefeated. We're going to win the FCS championship in Nashville. Talk to me about like just your from beginning to end UC Davis Mercer fan experience.
Yeah, you said it. I woke up eager, ready to go. I put in all the errands. I front loaded those because I thought I'd be good to go. I'm sitting by the phone at 12:15, texting you and Dwight, being like, hey, when should I come over? Not hearing anything. And then I think you said, hey, probably 3:30. And I was like, okay. Come to find out the game's at 4. And as you mentioned, I have other obligations, and I was okay. We'll just make the first half, and drove over there. Saw you guys, saw the famous Bobby Erskine, saw you, Pat. So we had to make some adjustments as Plowing had to do, but it was an awesome time to watch it with you guys. And I think the best thing was just seeing on ESPN, seeing the ticker Davis versus Mercer. I mean, that's what we dream of, and get to see that recognition in a standalone game was just already started that experience so well.
Yeah, interesting. Your sales experience is already coming out because, like you said, you were texting me and Dwight separately. It's like you knew you had 2 decision makers and you need to work both angles. So you're going to gently massage each. And ultimately, dude, a weird game, though. Like, we as Americans, I joked about this on the last episode about like our soccer fandom and the fact that a lot of Americans like to think they know soccer and this and that. And the reality is our inability to deal with a draw in American fandom is another example that like we don't get soccer. And so we essentially got a draw. But there's different types of draws in soccer, as you probably know. There's a draw where you're like dominating the game, and then the side that has 15% possession just like gets a corner kick and a header at the end of the match, and you're like, what the hell? We were dominating. And then there's another draw when you are the team that was, the underdog. And so I guess we'll start with like the feelings. Like, who feels worse right now? Mercer or UC Davis?
I mean, this is a Davis podcast, so I'm going to be biased, but I also think it's the truth. It has to be Davis, right? We were
Yeah.
up the whole game. I mean, who's to say what would happen at the end? It was coming down to a fantastic game. So just put that aside as a football fan, you feel hurt because that would have been just a great way to end it. But as Davis, we're up, you're feeling great. And then to end it on a low note relative to the first half, and then not being able to finish it and then just sitting there in that feeling, and you hate it. Mercer can say, hey, we were coming back. We were going to win that game. They can kind of finish on a W where we were letting it slip a little bit and we don't know what happened. So I feel like Davis has that pit in the stomach, whereas Mercer can build off that momentum. So that's, I think Davis, and I know Chris Long says it, like, who has the worst plane ride? I mean, we didn't expect to go on a draw and then have to lead later in the game. So I think Davis has to be it.
Yeah, and I'll go the first take route and play like Skip Bayless from 2015 or something before Fox signed him for $1 million. And I'll say Mercer thinks they were going to beat us. And if you're watching the game, like, momentum makes you think that nothing's going to change. So like when we were watching it inside Dwight's house, I think I told you after we scored, like, we're freaking going to be 2-0 going into the Washington game. That's going to be so fun. Like, this is what sports is. It causes us to get emotional about stuff and overreact one way or the other. And so right now, the Mercer faithful are like all 14 of them who were there. I swear there was probably as many Davis fans, and I want to talk about the atmosphere, as Mercer fans at the game, which is pathetic for the Georgia school. And, they think that they were going to beat us because they had gone on that run, which happened so quick, which is what
So
momentum
quick.
does. But I will kind of pull us back, and I'll rewind us a little bit, because one thing I did want to do, and we'll do it in a greater length when we have you on while Dwight's out during September, is have you give like a 2-minute version of your UC Davis story. We'll get the full story, football story style, like Dwight,
Yeah.
in time. But just so people know, like, wait, who's this guy again? So tell us, Nick, who are you in 2 minutes?
Yeah. Quick and dirty. So, um, I came in as a freshman as a defensive end with the D-line group with the likes of Brock, Stephen Wolf, Tom McConnell, guys like that. Redshirted my freshman year, came into my redshirt freshman year thinking, I was going to play. Our first game was against Cal, and we can talk a lot more about that. But I sustained a high ankle injury probably 2 weeks before on a dumb pursuit drill that still kills me. And that really set my career back really for that year and the following year. And I was in a tough spot. And I've told you guys again off the air, you and Dwight saw that and reached out to me and brought me in. And that really changed my whole perspective going into my redshirt junior year. Unfortunately, some injuries happened, but fortunately for me, I got a chance to play spring game. And I told myself, hey, when I get on the field, I'm not getting off the field. And so I had a great spring, which propelled me into the fall and some of the accolades that you mentioned. So my redshirt junior year, my most proud accomplishment I've probably had ever is most improved player. And coming from not playing at all, just playing special teams, to being most improved player, then going into my senior year, being nominated as captain, finishing my career as 4-0 against Sac State. So I know you missed that. So that was a huge accomplishment. So finished as a D end, now live in Sacramento, rooting on the Aggies.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, yeah, lots of moments. I feel like lots of memories kind of ping in time with young Nick King, who, like you said, was kind of not out to sea, but just like a little down and frustrated by just circumstances and football and playing time and injuries and physical health, like, impact the mental health of a college kid so much. And so even as we start talking about, like, who's playing, who stood out to us, like, oh, the true freshman's playing corner. Oh, we really, okay, the D line ended up being these 4 guys mainly. Okay, in terms of all the transfers who we saw out there, like, for every guy who's playing, and we've talked about it with Grant Harper, there's guys who aren't getting that, or there's guys who got hurt right before the first game, those sort of things that are the stories that we want to be sensitive to and kind of keep in mind as we go throughout the year. But let's work our way into this game. So we have kind of a funny snafu on a 4th and 2 on that first offensive drive.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's gonna be run pass option with Caden. You let him scramble for it. And he, like, as cool as a cucumber, like, steps out of bounds past the first marker, not the first down marker, and was like back in the huddle, like, coach, next play, next play. And we were kind of like, oh, he doesn't get it. He didn't get there. But even that play, we were like, oh my gosh, dude, like, he just zipped around the corner around that DN rushing in. And I think the first half could be characterized by like the Caden Pinnick coming out party. So there's a lot to get into about the defense, about, you know, some of the players who really stood out, but we definitely need to lead with the lead, which is Caden Pinnick. So
Yeah.
I'll give like my 2 cents. You know, I thought the thing that jumped out to me or like screamed at me at the beginning of the game was his demeanor. And I think like that's the thing that stands out most. He has the tools physically, but in between the ears is where I think you'll see the biggest kind of stamp of why he's QB1, like maturity for a freshman. And the announcers, our ginger Rocky, was loving it. And so I think people recognize it all across the country and watching that game. Like, buddies texting me like, Caden Pinnick's for real. So I was just very impressed with, yes, what he did on the field. Yes, the elusiveness. Yes, the scrambles and touchdown, the Kyler Murray, college Kyler Murray, I should say, not
Yeah.
NFL. Just parallel, or I guess, you know, very similar to Kyler Murray from a college standpoint. But really impressed from that. I guess what are your takeaways just from Caden's first half?
Man, I'm getting juice just thinking about it. I didn't think it would be possible to over deliver. So your
Yeah.
co-host Dwight texted me probably a few days before and he said, I think he's going to be that dude. And I know we heard things and we're really excited about it. But the fact, as you mentioned, I mean, the dynamic running, I just rewatched the first half on that touchdown. I know we'll get into it. He made 5 guys miss. And we just don't see that out of Davis quarterbacks. And that's something in the FCS level, the FBS level, even the NFL level, you need to be a dual threat quarterback. And we've seen it. Brock, you and I have experienced it. We both have painful memories of trying to sack the quarterback and getting a 3rd and long. So just having that dynamic on top of Plow's offense is huge. The other thing that kind of stood out to me, and you mentioned it, just the demeanor. I don't think he did first down touchdowns, like you said, no celebrations, just like just on to the next play. But the thing that stood out to me as well, when you think of freshman quarterback dynamic, you think maybe passing is a little spotty touch. And I thought he had fantastic touch in the first half, especially hitting guys in the hands. I think on that second touchdown drive, he had a beautifully layered throw between the linebacker and the safety. Just great ball placement. The other thing that was awesome was a great downfield block. I know that's the classic, hey, coaches love to see it, but hate to see it at the same time. So, and then he's definitely going to be sore again. Took a massive hit on that cornerback blitz.
Right.
The scare, the concern you have. I mean, we do have fantastic depth at quarterback, but if you're going to run that much, taking hits like that, he's going to learn to slide, get out of bounds. Even when he went out of bounds, he ran into the equipment box. So, but I think, like you said, the through line is, man, he delivered. The future's bright with this offense, with Plow, with our receivers. So I can't be more excited. And like you said, the group chat was just blowing up with saying, hey, this is the dude that we've been asking for that next level of Davis quarterback that can do both.
Yeah. And the quarterback room has 3 other 3-star quarterbacks. And there's a lot of talented guys. Mitch Dixon was a quarterback who Plow kept in the fold by making him a tight end. My brain already goes to like, oh, that's a dynamic, for the younger guys looking into the future, and just like you see this guy balling out. And after his touchdown run, I also have the thought of like, and again, this is just like the sports fandom brain. You're like, we got to keep this guy because there's not, right? There's just not that many guys like that. And so I'm like, no, Sam Herder, like, don't tweet it out. No. Maybe we shouldn't have been on ESPN. Put us back on ESPN because the cat is out of the bag early. Now, that's a good we'll get back to some of the other positions and stuff, but
Yeah.
let's stay on Caden and let's stay on what we witnessed after halftime. Because I said the cat gets out of the bag, people start, knowing how to pitch to a guy after he comes in and has a hot 2 weeks when he's, fresh into majors. And then they start, blitzing, and then they start realizing some things that you talked about, and we start seeing some leaks. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll have you start in this one, and then I'll give my 2 cents. But like, we saw the good.
Yeah.
What were some of the areas in the second half once you got back home and you're playing daddy duty,
Yeah.
where you're like, what the hell? I thought I was just going to be chilling the rest of the night.
Yeah, so there's a couple things, and I think I know what you're leading to is the offense became a lot slower. And to be fair, I just rewatched the film, and when I was talking to you, I thought the pass protection in the first half was really strong, and Caden made some great throws, held up. In the second half, things really fell apart, but I thought that might have been, and we'll talk about it too, just the heat, the weather, guys getting tired the first game. But as you mentioned it, I think it was a lot more scheme. So I'll give credit to the Mercer defense. So I saw they were doing a lot more stunts, kind of delayed QB spies, rushing from the edge because they saw that Caden was rolling out. So I think they started to understand, as you mentioned, kind of what is the offense trying to do and adjusting, and then playing stunts. So I think the combination of just that first game tiredness from the offensive line as well as the scheme, those are kind of the biggest challenges where the offense was behind the ball. And then the other thing that was interesting, which, as you know, running up tempo has a lot of advantages, gets us big guys tired. But we had, I think, like 3 penalties. I don't know exactly what they were called. I think it was like not being lined up for a long
It
enough
was
time.
pre-snap. Yeah,
pre-snap.
Right.
So I think that was like 3 penalties. So you're behind the ball. And so I think that added kind of some of the dynamic elements of our offense, kind of put us behind the 8 ball, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like one of the things that we'll talk about is tempo throughout the year, because tempo is something that really became a staple of Shredville in the 2017-2018 like reinvention of Plow. The coach Plow OC, now head coach, that we see is not the same coach, just like we're not the same people we were 15 years ago that he was when we were there. When
Yeah.
we were there, it was a different type of offense. It was more West Coast style. It was more pro style. And what we do now is much more up tempo. And he talked about the influence of, being able to get with some of the guys at TCU and visiting, the Niners and different other programs throughout the years. And he's taken his flavors from each one of them and created his own recipe. But I thought, tempo goes well. And I was a bit surprised that we used it, because it goes well early, because it's a bit of a shock for teams. Even if they prepared for it, they're like, well, now it's happening. And I can't just sub out like it's practice that easily. But when you're in the heat and humidity and you're in the South, and it's some of these kids, most of these kids, first time. I mean, we have a couple kids from Texas. Jacob Syke made his presence felt all night.
That's right.
Our punter is actually an Allen, Texas kid, speaking of where Kyler Murray's from, and a D2 transfer. And I was intrigued. Is Cade Cox going to win that job, or is it going to be Mora? It was Morrow. And he had an okay day, but that's a big thing we're going to be looking at throughout the year. But the humidity and heat really affects just longevity, endurance. And that is something that we definitely think affected the second half. In looking at the defensive side of the ball for a little bit, I want to talk about all 3 levels. I will briefly talk about linebacker and DB. And then, because you are now the D-line expert, I will have you kind of share about what you saw from some of those guys. It was a different group at the D-line position than I expected, and I was pretty pleased. I'll just give my 2 cents. But the linebacker position, similar to last year, where we had 2, main horses who were running the show. It was Rutch, the Cal transfer, who Evan Tattersall is DMing us like, yeah, another Cal transfer linebacker doing his thing. He was also messaging us because Evan played in a Lightning delayed game at Cal when they played Washington years ago. So
Mm.
he's messaging us, dude, when you're putting Kira down, he goes, they can't cancel it. He's like, I've sat in the locker room forever. We came out, we finished the game at 11. We came out at 11 p.m. that night. And then he texts back, oh, like, I guess they can. And the ruling on that's crazy. But Porter is a guy that you'll be talking about later, is the other mainstay in there. And those guys played all game. I don't remember them coming off the field. I don't remember two other inside linebackers hitting the field. That's it. That's a positive thing in that we have two very high level starters who are impact guys. And we're not just having to lean on Porter. I think Nate played really well too. And I messed it up. He's not from San Ramon Valley. He's from Tommy Hemingson's Monta Vista. Sorry for messing that up last week. But the DB room is a different story. And if you were to look at the first half, the only breakdowns we had, at least, there's always missed assignments and like, hey, you missed your gap on that or whatever, that we aren't always noticing as much as fans. But there were pretty glaring, mistakes in that part of the room or in that part of the defense. And I do feel like the way that it was rotated in and out shows that, like, this is the first game of the year and they're searching for answers. So, like, Drew Cofield, who is, to my knowledge, the highest rated incoming freshman we've ever had, showed his worth. And I thought he was feisty and skinny and strong and intense and mouthy and fun to watch, and like laid the boom on some big dudes and got the boom laid on by some big dudes. But then the Tufts kid was out there. The Kalani Reddick, who had a couple penalties and who also returned some punts from us, was out there and still was looking springy. Cole Batson was that single high safety that I thought Reddick was going to be. And the list goes on. We don't remember Josiah Allen, the UTEP transfer, getting out there. And we saw what Rex did. Like, we saw the 12 tackles that don't count, apparently. We saw him flying around, making plays. We saw the missed tackle on the 69-yard touchdown run, which was uncharacteristic, but such is football. So lots on the defensive side of the ball. I'd say from those two groups, linebackers, DBs, a little bit of a different story. And so what do you make real quickly of those two groups on defense, and then give us more of your like extended thoughts on D-line play?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it, Drew Cofield. Shout out to him. Like you said, I love a quarterback that's willing to come down and tackle. As a true freshman, I think the first series of the game made a TFL completely fearless. Like you said, you got trucked on one play, but I think it shows your mettle when you get up and you just walk it off. You don't put your head down and say that happens. That's football. I thought that was amazing. I thought a lot of the big plays were these wheel routes, kind of motion routes. So those I feel like more schematic than maybe player personnel. So hopefully we'll get those adjusted. So I wasn't too concerned about the DBs. Again, those are more mental mistakes than physical. I didn't see us getting outran or anything like that. And then, like you said, linebackers, well, I'll go into it more, but Porter, man, he's a dog, and I think his brother gets all the accolades, and I'll give it to him, and they're much deserved. But it almost feels like he's kind of the heartbeat of the defense, as a linebacker normally is, making fantastic tackles. The fourth down stop was incredible. Two punishing tackles on the sideline. I forgot the first one because the second one was even bigger. So I thought the linebacker play was great. Just wrapping up, I think, especially in the first half, like you said, second half, tired legs, tired arms. But I think the linebacker group's solid. I think the DB group, we're going to figure out. hopefully we'll get coached up, which Coombs I know can do.
Yep. Will give us now your expert opinion, dude. So I will give the guys who were out there. So I'm sending out Insta stories all week. I'm hustling on X, and I'm saying, hey, big opportunity for Rain Mayo. He was the guy who I felt like was able to get some nice push in the practices I watched. Trent Carrad, the Marin Catholic, the arch nemesis of Nick King's. What were you guys? The Redwood what?
Giants, baby.
That, of course. So, you have him out there.
Yeah.
His buddy Mateo Perez did get a decent burn at running back. But then Sam, who I mentioned to you pregame, like, yeah, we'll see how much we play him.
Yeah.
4 down
Oh,
edge
yeah.
guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was not the third down pass, package with Darrell Porter, who I was surprised. Looks like Porter is being used so far week 1 just more as like a pass rush specialist
Yeah.
on third downs and lesser reps than maybe expected. And so Rain looks like he's got the nose position, which we know how important that position is. Grant Garrettson got a lot of burn on the edge as well,
My
but
guy.
he was not the starter. The D end was Jacob Syke, which is no surprise. One of the top PFF D ends in FCS from last year. First team All Ivy, well-spoken, handsome lad from Houston, Texas, and then makes his way to the East Coast, then to the West Coast, and doesn't seem like anything is too big for him. So give me your thoughts on that group of 4 and then some of the other guys who came sprinkled in.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's a great sign when you just listed off almost the entire starting D line. I have a list right now, and folks may or may not know, but usually it's kind of a plus minus or plus plus. And I'm making a list, and the whole starting line and those extra guys all had plus pluses. I think, as you mentioned, I think that the leader of that D line has to be Jacob Syke. I mean, constant QB pressure, huge sack on a 4th down, nice swim for a TFL. That reverse that they were starting to get momentum in the first half, he actually disrupted the timing of that. So the receiver that was coming back had to kind of do a wider, and that threw up that toss, which was huge. So you can't say enough about getting a transfer. And I think that's huge. Thinking about Davis, and usually it's FBS to FBS, but getting another guy from the FCS or Ivy League is great to see that impact. And then, Brock, you forgot to mention DP number 35, Darrell Porter, especially in the first half, had great internal pressure. And I think one thing that stood out to me as a unit when I went to practice too is playing lots of games. And you know how impactful that can be, and having that internal pressure for those edge rushers to get to the quarterback. Sam, man, again, because Bobby was there, he had to hit the spin move. I thought I saw it once, but he actually did it twice, forcing a penalty on a 2nd and long, forced a 4th down. So that was really nice. That's hard to do. I mean, if you think about it, running full speed, doing a spin for those folks that say, hey, D linemen aren't athletic, try doing a spin in a pass rush situation. You mentioned Rain Mayo. Having a big interior presence is huge, eating up blocks. I mean, that's why you see Rex, that's why you see Porter make all those tackles, because he's taking on the double teams. Even Brock knows about that. I mean, that's what you have to do. It's not a lot of recognition, but we'll give the big guys that. My guy, Grant Garrison, I met him in practice. Great guy, set the edge, pressure. I think everyone's getting after it. I'm listening to everyone now, but Trent as well. Nice rush on the first drive, forcing the grounding, which set the tempo for the rest of the game too. I mean, their offense looked out of sorts in the first half, and that was mostly because of the D line. I think the concern, right, is same with the offensive line. You have a lot of depth, so maybe we get some more guys in, because the second half you definitely saw a little bit of lack of pressure. Guys are standing up a little bit more, and it's tough, especially if you're running those games. And Brock, the other thing I wanted to call out, you mentioned up tempo. It reminds me of Chip Kelly, where, okay, hey, it's great when you're moving fast, but you go 3 and out twice, then the defense is on the field and you don't get much of a break. So there is kind of that seesaw there, but I loved what I saw with the D line. I'm really excited to see what's upcoming. It's kind of a bummer, as we'll talk into, about missing some of those stats and things like that, just to get that notoriety and that recognition, because the guys, I think as a unit, was probably the best unit on the field. And again, I'm biased, but I loved what I saw from the D line. Really excited to see what's upcoming.
The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information. Aggie Pride is proud to partner with JG Graphics in Rancho Cordova, the spot for custom apparel, embroidery, and printing. Aggie alum Pete Povey and his team helped us design and produce our Aggie Pride hats, and the quality is next level. If you need gear for your business team or next big event, Pete will take care of you from first idea to final stitch. Support a fellow Aggie and check them out at jg.graphics or visit their shop in Rancho Cordova. We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride Classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
Yep. So we hit defensive side of the ball. We hit quarterback room. We talked a little bit about some pass protection issues, which are one of the biggest takeaways of the second half. And we feel like potentially one of the biggest reasons for the comeback that was able to occur. We'll talk a little bit more offense now, and then touch on special teams, because it is a phase of the game. I don't believe it's a third of the game. I believe it's a phase of the game, and it can have a big impact in some games and smaller in others. And I'd say this week it had a pretty big impact. But in looking at the offense, the running game was something time and time again from everyone around the program who I talked to during fall camp and even from summer and in the spring. There was so much enthusiasm and confidence in the running game. And a lot of that was due to the offensive line, the continuity, which we know continuity leads to confidence and communication, people understanding. Like, you can look at someone, if you've played with them for 3 years, when you see a certain front and you know how you're going to handle the double team, or, hey, you got that on your own. And you might not even need the verbal communication in some cases. But if you do, you know how to communicate because you've done it. We were really excited about the three-pronged attack of Carter Vargas, Mateo Perez, and Jordan Fisher. We were concerned about the height of receiver, and yet we realized that we got some fast dudes, and we were confident in the tight end position. The tight ends combined for 3 catches. Your boy Winston Williams, not much opportunity. Mitch had a nice catch and run for a first down at one point. Ian as well, a nice play. The running back room was led in carries by, do you know?
Caden Pinnick.
So technically he's not running back room, but you're right. I think he did have 12 rushing attempts. Part of that was some design runs. I think half of that was him improvising. But the leading rushing attempt running back was Carter Vargas.
Okay.
And he was at 2.7 yards a carry. Jordan Fisher had 84 yards on over 10 yards a carry. He had 42 on one, but he still averaged over 6 yards a carry on his other 6 attempts. So that's something that I'm looking at, and I just point out facts when I see facts, and I say that's not a lot of carries for him. And I see Mateo Perez get some, PT in there, but for me, Carter Vargas, I will say he had a few catches. I think he led our team in catches, along with Sam. And so he was able to have that screen pass and really have our first explosive play in the first quarter and scoring our first touchdown with the leap over the top, which that is a nice goal line running back trait that some running backs have and some don't. But the fact that he's an up and over guy at the goal line, I like that. You can have a hard time punching it in on a 3rd or 4th and short when you're at UC Davis historically. And so to have a dude be able to just punch it in anyway is great. Running back room, I feel like 200 yards rushing, but a lot of that's scrambling too. And so I was solidly pleased. I wasn't like, we ran all over him. And I think some people will go, well, Mercer had the number 1 D line last year in FCS. Well, they had Zoc back, and he ended up, making his presence felt. But like, was just they had to reload the rest of that D line. So,
Yeah.
interesting to see week to week. Like, how does this play out? I mentioned this in previous episodes when we lost to Southern Utah, or almost lost to Southern Utah last year. I'm like, we suck. Well, they were pretty good. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we just kind of take it in stride each week. So that's the running back room for me. Why don't you touch on the areas that you were really looking at, which I know was O-line, and if you want to hit any wide receiver stuff, you can too.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things that jumped out to me. I actually had a question for you, Brock. I mean, if you listen to any podcast, watch it, get it, like it, subscribe it. You've been a huge fan of Jordan Fisher from day one, and like you said, I mean, he just pops off the screen. So I'm curious to know from your perspective, why don't you think he gets more touches or gets kind of just the ball more in space in different ways?
Well, it's a really good question. And the South Dakota playoff game last year was another reminder for me that trust is such an important aspect for a coach. And it could be Burke, it could be Plow, it could be Shelton, it's probably one of those guys, if not all of them. And we don't know what a position meeting looks like. We don't know what a whiteboard session looks like. We do know when a guy can make plays. We also know when a guy can't pass pro. And when I'm driving home very tired last night, hoping that the game doesn't start while I'm on 80 driving past UC Davis Health Stadium, I did have the thought, dude, like, maybe the dude just like can't pass pro. He's kind of
Yeah.
small. Like maybe I'm just thinking of the maybes. Why not?
Sure.
Because the running ability is there.
Yeah.
The size is another thing that comes to mind. Like
Yeah.
Darren Sproles was not a 1-3 back.
Right.
He was a very effective running back in moments. And so maybe that's what they're viewing. And even when I was doing my overreactions yesterday early in the game, I'm like, Carter Vargas is RB1. He's the dude. Look at him. Because physically, he looks like he can handle that load.
Yeah.
It's a long season, but for me, I don't know why. I just am guessing maybe he can't pass pro. Maybe he's not aware of stuff, because it's a little too obvious if there's not other reasons.
Yeah.
So I'll kick it back to you though. What comes to mind for you? Anything else?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, just some of the other things that stood out to me just in general on offense, because we've been giving so much love to defense. I think Stacy Dobbins and Sam Batu both stood out. I mean, you mentioned like they don't have the size, but felt like anytime we needed a play, they were open. So running the out routes, some of the deeper routes, it was really great to see. I know Sam was a little slow to start, but got that touchdown, I think, on the second drive. But it just felt like, again, those are going to be guys we're going to rely on, probably getting a lot of touches. So that was great to see, especially I feel like at the FCS level, the size is not necessarily as needed against those taller corners. So let's have some speed on the field and just have it different angles, which I know Plow likes to do, especially as we go in motion, misdirection. I know there's a couple of trick plays in there. And then you also mentioned the tight end room, which I think similar to I think it was O-line, D-line, and tight ends were the big three that I always heard coming out of camp we're really excited about. And again, this is one game and there's always schemes, there's always reasons for that. But yeah, we really thought that we would see more from the tight end group. And again, there's probably reasons for that, but you would have loved to see Winston on some, especially in the second half when we just need to get the ball, move the chains, get it to our tight ends. We got three great ones. Would love to see that, especially as the run game kind of deteriorated. And I know we were talking about this. It felt like especially the interior run game slowed down. We were great on the edges. There were a couple kind of breakthroughs, but that was the biggest struggle is that we weren't getting 3-4 yards on first down and inside run. That was now negative yards or 0 yards. So I know Mike Cody's coaching them up. There's going to be a lot of good film there, but I think there are a lot of questions that I'm excited to see in game 2 of what the scheme looks like and what kind of unfolds.
Yeah. I'm going to read some social media comments and then you can give your reactions. You give a 1-sentence reaction to each comment. Ryan O'Halloran, love the Nick King special.
Ryan, famous, went from Blue Force to white. And I don't know if I've ever forgiven him, but it's okay. He's a great guy doing great things.
Love it. Ryan Blueberry, sticking with the Ryan themes, was at the game. And yes, his last name is Blueberry. Keep a straight face, Nick. He says, no contest was really unfortunate. Wish they found a way to finish the game somehow. Yes. Pinnick looks solid. Definitely a few rookie mistakes. We haven't talked about the interception.
Yeah.
Credit to Mercer for making him uncomfortable in the pocket in the second half, but the potential is evident. Crampton Bowl is a cool venue, but tough to get a rowdy atmosphere when neither team is from the immediate area. Proud of our Aggies fans for making some good noise, though. Hope it was heard on the broadcast.
You fit that all in one tweet. That's a lot, but I think underscore everything there.
Yep. What else? Caden Pinnick is the real deal. Adjustments by Mercer in the second half slowed him down. Rex Connors is that boy. That's from Samuel Akem, Montana legend.
Yeah. I mean, to your point of the pick, one sentence, Colin Coward always says, hey, love to see our quarterback push the ball down the field. Sometimes you have to throw picks. That shows you're a gunslinger. So I'm okay with that.
Yep. John Ensley, surprised to see Cofield True Frost start and play all night at corner. I haven't looked at the box score for participation, but I don't recall seeing Josiah Allen out there. Newsflash, John, there is no box score for participation. We don't know stats at all. I screenshotted some stuff after the game, but we don't see anything else. I mean, last I saw, we had like 330 yards. They had 260, and then it all vanished into oblivion. So any thoughts on, we talked about Drew a little bit.
Yeah.
Couple interesting ones. What specifically led to the collapse in the second half? Better adjustments from Mercer, travel and humidity fatigue set in, 0 for 2 on field goals less than ideal.
I think yes to all of the above. I know we haven't touched on it, but the missed field goals, I think you did. I mean, that's huge. Having especially a blocked field goal, that hurts. I mean, you game plan. I know they were great on special teams, but I think that's a huge swing there. So that's something that I don't think we really like hammered home, but I think that was a big swing in the second half amongst the other things outlined.
Yeah. Game of inches. Hunter's first attempt was right there. Maybe like a 40-yarder. And then the second attempt, Dwight and I were saying, like, it looked like it was going to be good, but I couldn't tell. Like, was that on Hunter? Was it low trajectory, or was it just a nice play? I couldn't tell.
I mean, it looked like the D tackle got in, split I think it was the long snapper and the guard. And so he was right in front of it. So it was really hard to tell. It was a great play by him.
Yep. The woke mob football. So this is the Cal super fan and also went to UC Davis. They came to our Aggie Pride podcast tailgate before some random game last year.
Love it.
And they say heartbreaking and soul crushing. I was devastated to hear the news. The game was effectively vacated. Very upsetting. This wouldn't have happened if we weren't playing at a stupid neutral site.
Interesting. I think it's definitely heartbreaking. I think it has its reasons, which I know you said one sentence, but being a non-conference game, being 12:30, being a short week, I think there's a lot of factors in play, but it does suck for the fans, the teams, as well as the players.
Yep. Okay, we're going to transition now because the last comment I'm going to read is going to get us into the 15% that we wanted to talk about. And then we'll do our players in the games and kind of the last things we feel like we missed anything. And you're now feeling what we feel every week. We're 40 minutes in, Nick. And don't you feel like, no, there's like 400 other things I need to talk about. And that is kind of what it's like doing these podcasts. And when people go to Spotify and they see it's an hour and 30-minute episode, they go, holy shit. And I go, well, we freaking tried. There's 1,000 things to talk about.
Don't people listen on 2X? You make that, I don't know my math there, but that's what I do. Keep it short.
Bart Heeries. He's a 1,800 following guy and 1,000 followers on the dot. 1,000 followers. So his ratio shows that he's not about just aesthetics. And he says this: any insider knowledge about the conversations between Mercer and Davis ADs or their designees and coaches, which led them to ultimately agreeing to select option 4 from the 2025 NCAA rulebook. The 4 options are: number 1, resume the game at a later date. Number 2, terminate the game with the determined final score. UC Davis 23, Mercer 17. Number 3, forfeit the game. Or number 4, declare a no contest. I did text Rocco because I am a man who asks. And I said, hey, you want to give your 2 cents on this? The man is probably enjoying the Sabbath. More power to him. But let's give this a moment to breathe, Nick. And let's start talking about like how this decision came to be, you think? Like, we could even role play the conversation between the two ADs. That might be hilarious. And then what impact is this going to have on our season? So why don't you
Yeah.
direct us? You take the boat and you guide
Okay.
us. Where do you want to go?
So, Brock, as the representative for UC Davis, we have 4 options here. What would you like to do? I know you're winning, but I can tell you right now, we're not going to say that we're forfeiting. So, what would you like to do in this situation?
I mean, the first and foremost, the safety of my student athletes is the number one priority. So I think we need to get a really good idea on the weather. I think that's probably what I'd say first. I'd be like, okay, like we're gonna make sure we're safe and all that. We'll do that. Okay, time in. But we want to play this game. Like we didn't come down here just to shake hands and go visit the Rosa Parks and get stats that don't count. Like we want to finish this game. So, what are we gonna do to make this happen, Mercer?
Yeah. And this is where I bring up say, hey, what's your schedule next week? Don't you? I think you have an away game next week and you have to travel across the country back to the West Coast. So you're probably not going to get in till Sunday, get all the film. You have Mondays off. So you're going to start practice on Tuesday. So if you're okay to play, let's say on Sunday, that's okay. So, uh, stepping out of it, I think that's probably part of the conversation. You mentioned health and safety. This is our first game. It's a long season. And then just the logistics of that too, right? I didn't know that week 2 was going to be away. I know Plow already mentioned he was concerned about just kind of the long travel, getting back in a short week. So there's a lot of just terms of logistics. I'm sure they would love to play, but that's kind of it's non-conference. What is the actual broader impact?
Yeah. Well, and I flashed the money sign to you too, not because I'm Johnny Manziel. I really do think like the traveling party of 115 people or so, if you think about athletic trainers, if you think about coaches, if you think about obviously players and per diem and hotel costs and the costs of changing something with a flight or whatever, like we know that time is money. And so yeah, there's the logistic side of it, but there's also the financial side.
Sure.
And the financial side is always a very, very important side at UC Davis.
Yeah.
And it might appear, and Jacob Syke was like, dude, these facilities are way nicer than Harvard, way nicer. It might appear that we're just loaded. And maybe Bruce Edwards is, but the reality is like the athletic department is not just loaded. And even me, when I get excited and say like, let's freaking go play in the Mountain West Conference for football. We're better than half of those teams anyways. Like there's a lot of steps and there's really just money
Yeah.
that needs to be given. And that was one thing that Coach Plow and I talked about at practice. He's like, yeah, like he's like, you get this too, like you're trying to get your podcast supported so that you guys can, be able to continue doing it and like feel good about what you're doing and feel like you have a base to like expend the energy. And he's like, I know at times like I'm really direct with the fundraising. He's like, he's like, put me in a room with anyone and like I am gonna talk to them about it. So I don't know if you have any 2 cents on like the financial component or if you want to kind of take that and transition us, dude,
Yeah.
into like what is this going to do to the season, playoffs,
Yeah.
impact?
I mean, I'm gonna take the football player approach here. Is like, luckily this is game 1, so that puts the onus on the team, the coaches, to say, hey, let's make up for it in these rest of these games. So I'm gonna look at kind of be an optimist here and use this as a springboard to say, hey, we had our one shot last year. It was Portland State or what have you. Let's start fresh and let's show this wasn't a fluke game, that we're the real deal. So that's what I'm really hoping for. But because we can't predict what's going to happen and everyone's about controlling their own destiny. So that's what I'm really hoping. And knowing that's what Plow's always about, kind of setting the reality and living in the moment. So that's what I really think is going to happen. But being outside of it and a fan, yeah, it's a concern. I mean, I still am burned from us not making it, even though we beat Sac State, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? So there is some politics at play here. So if they say, hey, there was no contest and you guys had one Big Sky loss or what have you, there's concerns about that. But it's something we can't control. And I think this team is good enough that we can hopefully have a really strong season and use that as evidence to propel us into the playoffs.
Yeah, and this is a good chance to look ahead. Sponsored by Bold, Paulsner, Maddo, Nelson, and Judson. Nick King gets it, and he'll talk about it. They are actually taking care of Dwight and I's full estate plans, which is a big deal. Your trusts, your wills, your power of attorneys for financial management, all the things that are actually important. And full disclosure, today's Sunday, beautiful morning in San Francisco, going to church, remembering, like, as I'm there, I'm thinking, like, it's so fun to have football. It's so fun to have things that get us excited. It's so fun to have things to, create a community. That's like why we know each other, right? Because of this game. And yet it also can be distracting, I will say, especially from sometimes the things that actually matter. And I know that that's kind of like one of my tensions of like the things that I love that are maybe just like fun and not as important is that it can distract me from like the important things. And I'm reminded of that when I'm at a reality SF service on Sunday. But this is also like a good reminder of like, hey, people, have fun, listen to the podcast, write your comments. Don't be too mean. These are real kids. And maybe do something like this and like get yourself set up and get your wife set up so that you're feeling good about life too. So hit up Scott Judson and his team. They'll take care of you. Nick, we're looking ahead to next week. We're not previewing it yet. Dwight will get back from the beach and we'll do that on Wednesday. And you and I will hook up in a couple weeks. But just for a minute, we'll talk about Utah Tech. And there's, for me, some pretty solid concerns going into the game. So what do you see looking ahead to that game?
Well, like I said, I thought this was a home game, so this kind of caught me by surprise to go across country and then travel again. It's shorter, but there's definitely concern there. There's the time constraints that you have. As we all know, there can be letdown games. You have a lot of energy, you played well. There's concerns, so that would be the concern I see, especially they're a week 0 game. I know that this is the first game for the other team, so they're going to come out. They have film. They already see the scheme, which we don't have. So there's a lot of question marks that Davis has to answer, but I'm confident that we can.
Yeah, last year we kicked 6, dude. We kicked 6 field goals against Utah Tech. We won 32-14. We kicked 5
Oh,
more field goals than Utah Tech won games last year. And for those of you who didn't go to UC Davis, 6 minus 5 is 1. And yet at the same time, like, they're transitioning not only FCS program, but they're going to be in the Big Sky. So the recruits are getting better. The money investment's getting better. They actually have a pretty slick stadium. And you bet that I'm trying to convince my wife, let's just go to St. George for the day. Let's just go for the day. Not going to happen, most likely. But I am concerned about a letdown. I am concerned about the second game of the freshman quarterback. I'm
yeah.
concerned about protection. I'm concerned about just the impact of drawing a game at the college level as
Yeah.
opposed to winning or losing. So a lot of interesting things there. Let's finish on this note, Nick. You talked about we got to do some players in the game, man. And so I said, that's fine. I get offense, you get defense. So if you recall from last year, we call it the Before the Big Sky Player of the Game, presented by the Larson Real Estate. And those guys are awesome. We are praying for land every day in his foot, but they're hustling homes. So hit them up, get a home, get some land. If you like horses, get a freaking home with land. But we'll kick it to you first, and then I will look up the latest with this gentleman's high school football program. Who you got on the defensive side of the ball, player of the game?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of guys, and I've already given a lot of love to the D line, but I mentioned it. Porter just stood out to me. I don't have the stats. There's no stats to reference here, but I mean, every time he was going to tackle, like I said, the 2 vicious hits were incredible. I think set the tone, especially in the second half when we were starting to lose a little bit of momentum. His hit in the sideline, him starting to talk trash, which the guys that I played with know I love. I think he really carried the defense, obviously with his brother in the D-line unit, but I was really impressed with Porter, and I think he demonstrated to me that Aggie pride.
Yep, I love it. interesting, like the one note in the recap that came out was that Rex technically led the team in tackles with 12. That was one of the few stats that was put out by our boy David Collins. But I will go with another out of state UC Davis recruit and someone who didn't just have an effect on the game from a offensive standpoint while leading the running back room in rushing yards. And of course, I'm going with my guy. He probably made one of the biggest impacts from special teams on punt blocking. He got close to one earlier in the game. And I remember seeing it like flash in front of the screen, and we're like all being jovial, joking around, and Samara's climbing on my back. So I can't really like notice every single thing happening in the game. But it is Jordan Fisher. Jay Fish is someone that we've talked about a lot. He is a Westview Wildcat in Portland, Oregon, and rushed for 1 trillion yards in high school. They were 4-6 last year. They have not yet played their first game in 2025. They'll play McMinnville, which sounds like a program they'll probably handle. Probably a week 1 game where you're like, let's play McMinnville because they have 19 players on varsity. Meanwhile, Pleasant Grove in Pleasant Grove, Utah, which is where the Connors brothers and Daddy Connors, who is the man and has a nice beard, lost on week 1 on Friday night to Westlake 45-19. Kind of a bummer there. In 2024, the Pleasant Grove Vikings won 1 game. So they're missing Rex and Porter quite a bit.
Makes sense.
But those are the year before the Big Sky players of the games, Porter Connors and Jordan Fisher. Nick, this has been fun, dude. We already have been rolling for an hour. I want to make sure to kind of give you the stage though, because I know that you are a supporter of UC Davis football. You go to the alumni stuff. You're still really close friends with guys that we played with. You're freaking watching tape like you're Scott Gordon for this podcast. And we'll get to have you on more in the future. But yeah, just kind of closing thoughts on the game, on the experience, on anything you want.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start from the beginning. Caden Pinnick, I mean, I know I'm a defensive guy, but we go as far as the quarterback goes, and the future is bright. Like you said, maybe we don't want to be too bright, or we want to keep him as long as we can. But I think with Plow, he's done such a great thing with not only the program, but our offense and quarterbacks. So I feel really good about that. I'm excited for game 2. I think this team has what it needs on all 3 phases on both sides of it. So I'm really excited, and also excited about the program in general. Went to practice. The facilities are beautiful. The stadium, the game day atmosphere is amazing. We have a fantastic podcast now. We have everything. So Davis is continuing to climb up, and that's why I love it.
I love it too, man. Well, we have some creative ideas for us, right? Like maybe Nick and I are going to pop on campus. Shout out Pete Povey, who actually had this original idea, not me. He's like, dude, you need to do like a recording on campus, or like give out some of your swag and do some interviews with players and like kind of. And so we're hoping like even our stickers that JG Graphics is going to make for us. I said, yo, dude, put a QR code of our website on there so we can just give these to kids on campus. Those aren't expensive to make, whereas these hats are. I told you yesterday, I'm like, dude, I got the nice hats. Like, we're not going cheap hat giveaway here.
That's all
we're
I'm
going
here.
nice hats. And so the hats are fire. Grab one if you haven't. But you and I are going to have fun in the coming weeks, dude. So thanks again for hopping on. It's nap time for our kids, probably. Hopefully they're still sleeping. And looking forward to talking again soon, dude.
Yeah, thanks, Rock.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Big thank you to Nick King for joining the show and sharing his expertise. The dude had Google spreadsheets, notes, grading out the D line. Great stuff from Nick. As always, follow the show on X, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe for $5 a month on Spotify, which gives you early access to episodes and bonus content. And go to our website, AggiePridePodcast.com, where you can find our classic hats, navy or beige. Until next time, go Aggs.